The visiting team bus will stop right here, and the players will enter there.
Oh, really?
The
Wow.
players, they arrive in their cars here. And these types of guys, there's only one right now, but eventually there'll be a lot of them. And they try to get the players to stop and get an autograph or a selfie or whatever.
Yeah. It's been snowing in Florida.
I know, they've had more snow than us, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We haven't had any. This area here, by the way, this area here is called Canada Place. Cruise ships dock on either side. That's when we're really busy. Right now, we just have one bus with 8 people, whereas in the cruise ship season, we could have 8 or 9 bigger buses with like 200 people. We got cruise ships dock on either side here. Arguably, most famous Canadian hockey goal of all time was gold medal game 2010 Winter Olympics, Canada, USA, and in overtime he scored the goal to win the gold medal for Canada. It's called the Golden Goal. So yeah, all those people standing there, they're waiting to get the Pittsburgh Penguins autographs, but now that Sydney is 37, 38, which is considered old for a hockey player. It might be the last time through town for him. When hockey players retire 2 years later, a board meets and they vote on whether or not they should deserve to go to what's called the Hockey Hall of Fame. He's one of these ones that's just considered like, they'll bypass it and go straight to it. Like, considered one of the greatest hockey players of all time. But speaking of the Olympics, actually, that structure there with the 4 legs, that's the cauldron from the Olympics.
Oh, wow.
And so it gets relit for special occasions, like July 1st for Canada Day, or November 11th to remember fallen soldiers. Show you a neighborhood of downtown Vancouver, which is called the West End. That's a neighborhood that has transitioned from mansions and houses to low-rise apartments and high-rise apartments. A handful of those older homes still remain. From there, we'll see some of the beaches of downtown Vancouver. We'll see my condo. I actually literally live right on the tour route. You can literally see right into, like, depending on the glare on the glass, we'll see sports stadiums, we will see Chinatown, we'll see Gastown, which is the original birthplace of the city of Vancouver. Where we are now, though, this is Stanley Park. 1,001 acres, or 4 square kilometers, Canada's largest downtown city park, named after Lord Stanley. Lord Stanley is one of the earlier Governor Generals of Canada. Lord Stanley, also the same guy who, if you live in Michigan, I'm sure you heard of the Stanley Cup. Your Detroit Red Wings have won it so many times with the help of all those Canadians. Yes, Lord Stanley, same guy who started the Stanley Cup. He's not like those people, I'm sure some of those names you're very, very well aware of, that like to name buildings after themselves. He didn't name a trophy after himself. He named the trophy the Dominion Cup, and after his death it was named after him, the Stanley Cup. Yeah, he didn't name it after himself. Now they often say Stanley Park is in its naturally regenerated state. Fancy way of saying clear-cut by logging companies in the mid-1800s. And once they finished cutting down trees, they didn't do anything about it. Just sort of naturally regenerated from all the different seeds which had fallen. So currently about 70% of our park is forested. But it's some sort of a run anyway, not for charity. But yeah, it's going to be very, very busy out and about, everybody taking advantage of getting the nice weather over the day off. Just over your right shoulder, the building on the little island there, that's called Discovery. That's a naval cadet training facility. Building on the waterfront with the sails, that's where we picked up a couple of people across the street from it. That's Canada Place. Canada Place was designed to look like a big boat. So the tall glass portion, the Pan Pacific Hotel, that's what the thing that has the dome on top. Then behind it, the sails, that's the convention, we call it Convention Center East. Then we have Convention Center West, which is a little bit closer. I guess it's so bright to really be looking at things over there. Way, way off in the distance, more high-rise buildings. That's a municipality east of Vancouver called Burnaby. Those towers are where they are because of events that happened in our city's public transit history. 1986 and in the year 2000, subway lines went in that direction. People started moving closer to the stations that are close to parks and shopping.
Wow, welcome back to the channel, guys. We have now just hopped off the bus in the heart of Vancouver's most famous green escape, Stanley Park. And here are the famous totem poles, some of the most visited landmarks in British Columbia. They are such an important reminder that this land has deep indigenous roots. Right now, we're walking toward the seawall, one of the most scenic waterfront paths in the world. You can hear the waves gently hitting the rocks, feel that cool breeze coming in from the Pacific, and look at the skyline in distance. The contrast is incredible. Modern city on one side, forest and the ocean on the other. It doesn't feel like a typical city park. It feels wild, alive. After cruising through the downtown, surrounded by glass towers and busy streets, it feels almost surreal to suddenly be standing in the middle of towering trees and fresh ocean air. This is what makes Vancouver special. In just minutes, you can go from city energy to pure nature. Look at the water, so clear.
So clean, yeah, absolutely.
Oh. Don't jump. Don't jump. Thank you. You didn't get a coffee?
That's the year we celebrated 100 years as part of Canada, British Columbia. Now, up ahead of us there's a boat. I'm not talking about like the containers of the ship, I'm talking about the one that's actually moving right there. That boat there is part of our city's public transit system. If you ever have free time in Vancouver and you want to do something outside the typical tourist trail, because tourists do what's marketed to them, right? But there's all sorts of other things that locals know about that tourists don't know about. So that costs about $3, runs every 15 minutes, takes you on a 12-minute journey to the base of the road where all those towers are. Those towers are where they are because of that boat. When that boat went into service in '77, people started moving closer to the station, the towers started going higher to get into the city in just 12 minutes. There's a public market, there's restaurants, there's bars, there's a pier going out to the water, nice views of the skyline of Vancouver. If you like beer, there's a road called Esplanade, 5 breweries, a distillery, and a cidery in a row. And your ticket's good for 90 minutes, so you can go over, take a look around. And like, for example, last week, only I was going for a walk and I decided to go have a coffee over there. Just went over there, had a coffee, and I came back on a boat a few sailings later for all under like $3 or something. Just over there as well, you don't see it, but behind the industry there's a narrow strip of trees. They call that a green belt, separating the industry from the residential, and then they have their houses there. The blue building's for the exportation of potash, which is mined 2 provinces east of here in the province of Saskatchewan, and then that's used in the production of fertilizers. Yellow, that's sulfur, that's a byproduct of natural gas, also used in fertilizers. That comes down from northeastern British Columbia. Further east, sawmills, oil refineries, shipbuilding. Oil comes down by the pipeline from the province of Alberta. Now this isn't political opinion, this is a reality of what's happening right now. We were 14 degrees Celsius, which is about 57 Fahrenheit, which, yeah, sure, if you're from southern Florida or from Australia this time of the year, that's still maybe a little bit chilly for you, but for Canada in the wintertime, that was unseasonably warm. That you're starting to see things starting to sprout here on the right-hand side.
Oh.
And I'll show you daffodils that are already blooming as of 2 weeks ago, and cherry blossoms.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I have only ever seen this lagoon in front of us frozen solid, like I'm talking really solid that you could skate on it once in my life, and that was January 2 years ago. It snowed January 14th 2 years ago, but in the week leading up to the snow, it was clear and sunny and very, very cold. And this froze and people were skating on it. Right now, you would not even attempt it. It wouldn't even probably hold your foot, I don't think. These old houses coming down in favor of high rises. Only a handful of those old homes remain, but this entire square city block here, they're not allowing any new home construction. So where houses were maybe damaged in a fire or beyond repair, turned them into little parks. There's a handful of homes on the left side here as well. So they've all got multiple addresses on them. They're all been turned into several apartments inside the old structure. But this entire city block to the right of us, these homes here are owned by the city of Vancouver. The ones on the right, not the left. And this is subsidized housing for working class families and fixed income seniors to be able to afford to live in downtown Vancouver. Behind the stonework there, that used to go around a house which was maybe damaged, turned it into a park. Yeah, so we have subsidized housing, and I realize when people hear that word, sometimes people will think subsidized or socialized. They think, okay, welfare addicts or drug addicts, welfare people that don't want to work, and this type of thing. And we do have that type of housing for like what we might refer to as hard to house people in that. But we've also got subsidized housing for fixed income seniors, people with disabilities, working class families, even for retired artists. Not all musicians are making Mick Jagger money, believe it or not. I don't mean to shock you. Or Elton John money for that matter. So we have subsidized housing for those types of people as well. This green one coming up on the right, that's now a museum fitted with furniture of its day. And you're going to see under what would have been its living room that there's a plaque, blue triangle. The blue triangle says Heritage Building underneath the description telling you who lived there or maybe about an event that happened on the site. And then you've got the stonework that used to go around an old house. It's now a park. On a Sunday, these next two houses are closed, but these are not used as single-family residences anymore. These are seniors centers, activity centers. Not places where they live, but activity centers for them. The grocery store on the opposite corner was damaged in a fire a few years back. They managed to restore it and even restored the old neon sign and brought it back to life. So in an area like this, and I realize people are using different currencies, I don't know all the exchange rates and that, but in an area like this, one-bedroom apartments right now are starting around 2,500 Canadian dollars a month. So in American dollars, that'd be somewhere around 18 to 1,900 a month or so to start. And not everybody's paying that. And yes, we have subsidized housing like that where they're definitely not paying. This is for fixed income seniors. But the thing is, we have what's called rent control here. So in July each year, the provincial government determines what the allowable rent increases are for the forthcoming year. You're going to be busy looking at some statues on the right there, but on the left there's a place called Biryani. It's an Indian place, but people go there to drink beer. So they call it Biryani. It has like Indian snacks and beer. Biryani.
Wow, nice.
There's another Persian restaurant. What's this with Persian?
Well, Persian barbecue, yeah, in the opposite order, so it's Biryani. On the top there to the left. Anyways, that's called Amazing Laughter. Yeah, so that's what he looks like. At least he thinks he looks like that. I don't know if he really has a six-pack of abs or not. That was supposed to be on loan to us 2009 to 2011. I got traffic behind me, so I have to start moving slowly.
Yep.
When the 2-year exhibit ended, Vancouver inquired about purchasing it. It was going to be too expensive. So a local self-made billionaire, Chip Wilson, founder of he became a billionaire quite easily. He just convinced people around the world to buy tight yoga pants from him. They started a company called Lululemon.
Jeez.
He bought it for his city. Down below on the right, that's English Bay. That's the water is English Bay. The beach is officially First Beach. Most people just call it English Bay Beach. What? Busiest day of the year for swimming is actually in January 1st. Polar bear swim. People run in for a quick dip.
And the swimmers still there?
In here?
Yeah, right here. Now down below on the right, there's a rock structure that's called Inukshuk. That's an Inuit word, a northern indigenous language word from northern Canada meaning image of man. Rock on top is a man's head, then the open arms, then the body, then the legs. Open arms meaning welcome.
Very nice.
Meant to welcome the seafarers to Vancouver. A-framed building across the way, Vancouver Maritime Museum. There's our daffodils blooming on the slope there, heading down to the seawall. There's a lot of people getting money invested out as well. In Chinatown, in the mornings, it's more of the older generations coming down for like the produce markets, meat markets, seafood markets, herbal remedies, that type of stuff. In the earlier days, though, earlier 1900s, it wasn't called Chinatown for one, it just happened to be the area of the city that had a lot of Chinese. But the other two main demographics here were African American and Italian. Not African Canadian, African American. And for the most part, they came up from the West Coast to work on the railway, not in construction, but as porters. The railway station is very, very close to here. So we're very close to the railway station. In fact, that little blue building there, Nora Hendricks worked there. I know you haven't heard of Nora Hendricks, but most of you have heard of her grandson, Jimmy. So Jimi Hendrix spent a lot of time in there as a kid when he came up to visit his grandmother who worked in that little blue building. Jimi Hendrix went to elementary school for 1 year in 1943. I don't know I don't know enough about his family, like if his father was off at war or not. But either way, he did 1943 elementary school in Vancouver. Actually, at the site of where the Sun Place Hotel is right now, it used to be an elementary school. At the Museum of Vancouver, they have a section of the neon history. A lot of those old Chinese neon signs are there. But these people worked very, very hard in their restaurants, and they encouraged their children to do other things in life that by the time it came time for them to retire, if their children didn't take over, well, lease would expire, and if they couldn't find a buyer, lease would expire, something else would open up in its place. So now there's very little Chinese restaurants. I mean, yes, there's the produce markets and that, but there's very few Chinese restaurants. There's an Irish pub, it'll open in a few hours on the left. Who's next to them? Cambodian cuisine. Oh man. What do we have on the hand here? All the ramen butcher, Japanese. Who's next to the ramen butcher? Hallucinogenic mushrooms. Who's next to them? Thai food. Italian coffee, Italian deli, British pub, New York pizza, Chinatown. Who's next to the New York pizza? Chinatown. What's the oldest operating business in Chinatown? I believe it's closed on Sundays. Since 1906, third generation owner, he's in his 90s. Italian specialty shop. It is for sale though, so next generation's not taking over, it looks like. But look, that's a real rarity. Look, there's actually a Chinese restaurant in Chinatown. I'm not joking, it's right there. Let's see if we can find Chinese food on this street in Chinatown. Nope, but Nigerian food coming soon. I'm not kidding. That's a brand new hotel on the right side with the heart, with the people forming a heart. But it's one of these modern hotels with no front desk staff. It's all done through the internet and PIN codes and things. I mean, there's cleaning people that come around and that. Now there is half a block up there, a Chinese restaurant that does go back like 50, 60 years. There are a few Chinese restaurants, but it's not like it used to be. What about all the newer Chinese immigrants then? Well, for one, they've got no connection to Chinatown. It's not like they have memories of coming to these places as children and that type of stuff. Not to mention, totally different economic class. So in the city of Richmond, near the airport, that's where you find the modern Chinese shopping centers, fancy restaurants and that. So with time, Chinatown, as you've seen, is becoming less and less of a real Chinatown. We'll always have the red light poles and golden dragons. So what we'll do here is wait for this light to turn green again and go through the intersection, and then I'll pull over the vehicle, and for three of you continuing on the second part of the tour, somebody working at the tower will take you up there.
I want to see the library.
Oh, wow.
Aerial view of the library. That would be nice.
The what? The library?
Yeah, the aerial view of the library.
I think maybe it's outside.
Are you guys with the Lancy?
So this is the Vancouver Lookout, and as I was listening to Greg, I realized something. When you visit a city, you usually just see buildings. But when you have someone tells you its stories, you start seeing the layers. Library. Listening to Greg talk about Vancouver's turning points, the fire, the growth, the waves of immigration, I started thinking about my own turning points. The moments that didn't feel big at the time, just small decisions, moving to a different place, taking a different job, starting something new, like my YouTube channel. At the time, you don't call it history, you just call it life. But later, it becomes your story. Thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for the next episode of Vancouver.